Hey, I think my camera is a bit... Is it a bit low? I think it's a bit low. Sorry, I'll just lift all of you a little bit. Oh my god. Sorry. Yep. That's about right. Now if I can just focus it here. Yes. Perfect way to start. Okay, let me know if you can hear my voice okay, and if you can hear the music. I have done a few live streams where I've started and then I have completely messed up the audio settings in the beginning. Sorry, Carolina. Okay, I think in this live stream I am going to be using one of these brushes. I don't know which one yet though. Which one I want to use. So these brushes are... I decided to do this thing that all the people who support me on this channel by being members, of course, all the non-members, like you all guys, support me by just watching these videos. But some people have joined the membership, and I decided to give back during this December, and I made kind of like this Christmas gifts for artists type of a Christmas calendar, and I have uploaded like new tools for artists that I personally use every single day. So these are some of the brushes that are actually not Procreate brushes. This is the first time that I am using these in Procreate, but these are some of my brushes that I've been using in Photoshop for a while. So in the downloads folder for all members, I am adding new things to download. These are like palettes, other art tools and brushes, whatever I find useful myself. So I decided to make this sort of like a location for useful Christmas presents. So these are Photoshop brushes. I will probably eventually make them test them all on Procreate as well, but honestly I've only used these on Photoshop thus far, so how they behave in Procreate is kind of new to me. And okay, sound is okay. The last time I was streaming, I think I was doing that rhythm live lesson. I was listening back that live lesson, and at some points my voice just went really low, even though the distance from the microphone is pretty static in these sort of situations. So I don't know why that is. I'm just gonna check the canvas size really quickly. I wanna change this to 300. And just check that it's correct. Because you never want to paint below 300 dpi unless you're making some like very specific web graphics that you know that you won't use for anything else. Okay, I think I'm going to be using the Quill M brush. And this was one of the first brushes that I added to the downloads this month. And the cool thing about this Procreate version that I am just, I was literally just editing this brush for the first time in Procreate. So this is a Photoshop brush, but I added this color bleed feature to it. I will make this available as well. So if you look at these sort of like sharp edges, I am kind of like blending them with this brush. Because in Procreate, the color bleeds are really cool. Really, I wish that YouTube would stop suggesting these advertisements like right in the beginning of a live stream. It's so weird. I mean, who would start a live stream and then go on a commercial break like after 4 minutes? How short of a live stream do they think that I am keeping? This is going to be a while, because as you can see, I have absolutely no sketch, no idea. Like vaguely, I might like to do like some sort of like village stuff. but that's it. That's the plan. And I think it's kind of more fun every time that I'm just kind of winging it, because the stream seems really scary and exciting for me too, because there's always that fear that like, what if this is a complete disaster? Because that might happen, but it's fine. Like, that's part of what makes art interesting for me. I think if art was just easy, if I could just press a button and there's an image that I wanted, I don't know, I think it would lose its kind of magic for me, like, really quickly. I guess, like, we are in that stage in history where a lot of people are writing down what they want to see and then they see it, but yeah, that's not really the same thing, I feel like, what I'm doing here. Capybara with ramen, who has, by the way, a really awesome name, is saying, I'm so early. Welcome to the stream. Also, Destiny Brown and Buretto Draw says, hey Mikko, I'm glad you're streaming. I'm finishing up some paintings myself. That's great. I think it's always like more fun to paint when somebody else is working at the same time. It makes me feel like this is not that important. And honestly, that's true. Like, art is not so serious. It's just art. Usually I don't start with clouds, but since I've been working on that art course that I'm releasing soon on Gumroad, then I've kind of like gotten excited about painting clouds again. I don't know why I said again. I don't think I've never stopped being excited about painting clouds, but it has just kind of like brought back a lot of like the beginner enthusiasm, because when you're teaching something, you always learn new things at the same time yourself. Nobody's so good at anything that you stop learning. So when I've been making that art course, I've learned some new techniques, and I think all the basics are pretty much done. I have written the last videos, where the last videos are about color editing and how to use blend modes and how to edit your finished illustration with the blend modes. But there are some sort of like advanced techniques that I partly learned throughout this process as well. So I might make a new kind of like more complicated project after all the basic tutorials are done, and then just give people kind of like an insight to how to take those skills to the next level, because there's always something new to learn. I think it's like looking very symmetric at the moment, so I think I'm just going to increase the canvas size to horizontally. Also, this will make it so much easier for me to do a thumbnail later. I think for these live streams, I've been thinking that I might not use the finished illustrations at all for live streams, because I think this is like the one rare chance where I have the opportunity to kind of like not show what the painting is when people start watching these live streams, and I think that can be part of the excitement. I know that some people might feel like they are cheated because like I'm not painting the illustration that is in the thumbnail, but just so that anybody is aware right now, if that's why you came here, I won't be doing that sort of like watercolors for bears illustration cover that I used for this thumbnail. But when you go live, you just have to choose something. And also creating those thumbnails, like that's a lot of work. Like sometimes it's a whole day of editing it just for the thumbnail, even if the painting is already finished. So I don't know if that's like useful use of my time, because I could be writing and creating new tutorials and videos for you. And if I just work a whole day on creating a thumbnail for an existing old live stream, and live streams don't get that much like replay value after they're done anyway. So I don't know if that's something that I should kind of commit that much effort and time to. I mean, pretty much the theme with like a lot of these live streams is that I'm just figuring out what I'm going to do. So I think having that image already in the thumbnail is kind of like spoilers, but maybe that's just me. Hello, members Arneri and Sedenek Spasek. I'm struggling with that name. And good morning, Emilio and Francis, and Katarina Rosa is saying, hi, I've been trying to get started in painting scenes and landscapes and being scared out of my life. So I was about to jump in now and saw you're live. Now it feels better not to do it alone. Good. Don't be scared. Like, don't expect anything out of yourself. I think that's how we kind of like spook ourselves. And plenty of other ways. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you and say that painting is going to get less scary when you keep doing it. It's always going to be scary. But like, that's the fun part of it. When you do it anyway, you kind of like win your own fears. And just by finishing or even starting, you're already like way ahead of everybody who is kind of too afraid to even start. And you never know what you can make before you actually do it. How is everyone's Christmas December going so far? Is this the month where you get kind of like more art done? Because usually people don't have that much work stuff during December. I have tons of work during December. I'm just like drowning in work, which is a positive thing. I'm working on like really interesting projects, and I'm like really happy that the clients are so I don't know, just like interesting people to work with, and I'm like really interested in seeing where those projects go. So I feel really lucky that I'm busy, but at the same time I'm kind of like miss that sort of like cozy winter time painting by myself and just like doing something like completely random. Oh my god, I painted on the wrong layer. Oh, it wouldn't be a stream of mine if this didn't happen. Damn it. Cut, paste. I'm gonna slip it in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry for your loss, Janina. I think art is a great way to kind of process your own emotions, and it's usually kind of easier to speak to the canvas than actual people, at least for me. Because when you're painting, you kind of end up saying a lot of things that you don't even know that you're thinking about. But when you see the painting, especially when you see the painting kind of few years after it has been painted, or even just few weeks or months, you have a lot of like more understanding of what the whole piece is even about. Tero Draws is saying, "Hi Mikko, I've seen you in the hallways of our school and I heard you might teach us concept art at some point. Hopefully you are available in a few years when that course is planned for us." Say hi to me when you see me creeping around the school, but I am teaching concept art probably in that school in next spring. So I'm really looking forward to that. I always love teaching. I mean, it's the worst way to make money, honestly. Like, it's like the worst salary ever. But I just like genuinely want people to learn and get excited about art, especially those people who are learning concept art, because I feel like at this point, at first I had a lot of this sort of imposter syndrome when I started teaching, but now I honestly feel like I have something to give to the students, because I can see, I've seen them improve so many times over the years now. I've taught concept art for quite a long time, and seeing the progress of students like that always just, I don't know why, but like that gets me really excited. And seeing somebody who is kind of like finding their own voice in art, I think that's also a big part of the motivation for me, why I like teaching in the first place. For me, the big thing about concept art has always been that I don't care if the students just get better. Like, that to me is only like a very, very small part of how they get graded at the end of the course. I also need to kind of like learn what they are like through their paintings, because if somebody can just make pretty pictures, that's not what that class is for. If you can't make ideas that are interesting, then those images are useless as concept art. So it's about asking interesting questions, and I think for that to happen, the students always kind of have to put themselves in their own work. It is a very personal thing to make art, especially when you make art in front of a group, so that can feel quite scary for some of the students. But I think we've always been able to make the group and the feedback happen in a way that is not kind of trying to demotivate anybody. I think that's one of the things that I kind of always cringe when I see on ArtTuber channels, like especially, unfortunately, male ArtTuber channels. And this is not to hate on anyone specifically, but putting yourself into this like feedback loop where you're just like constantly hating on your peers' artwork and telling yourself that this is the only way to get better. I don't really support that because the art journey for everybody is so long that you have to be able to like it. And you have to be able to like the work that you do in the process of making it. So while it might be like motivating and great to think that like there in the future I will have the skills and I will do the art that will be what I'm here for, why I'm studying all of this stuff for. But the truth is that like you're never gonna get there. Like you're never gonna be done with the studies. I'm not done. But still, I like making art because I like the stuff that I'm able to do now, and I do think it's important. And that's the reason why I feel like it's very difficult for me to throw away even my old paintings, because I feel like they are saying something valuable. Maybe I haven't even understood like the purpose of those artworks yet, but I value them already. I don't need them to be perfect. I can kind of forgive myself for the technical mistakes that I made when I was younger. I can forgive myself for the technical mistakes that I make now, because they do happen all the time. But you can't let that be the reason why the piece itself is somehow like not valuable or meaningful. There's so much more to the value of art, especially when it comes to your own life. Art can serve so many different purposes. I'm glad that somebody likes the tone of my voice. Like when you read YouTube comments, you see some stuff. But then I think that's also part of like being able to kind of forgiving yourself, because you can't please everybody all the time, and you can't please everybody full stop. Like that's the whole sentence. That your creative output, it's not meant for everybody, and I think that's fine. But as soon as you start thinking about what other people might like, you start kind of modifying what you're making in the first place, and slowly the art just comes more and more kind of dishonest and shallow. And I think you feel and see that before anybody else, and it just starts feeling wrong, because I think art has a bigger purpose than making you popular or making you money. I think there's something important about art being kind of free of those sort of attachments. I think art can kind of show us who we are. Like just for that reason, when you go to a museum, I think it's great if you can go to an art gallery and see art with your friends or anybody who is willing to talk about what you are seeing and how you're experiencing it. Because that way art can help us grow as people. And we don't have to like the art for that art to have that impact on us. We just have to be kind of open to listening what it's trying to say. We don't have to like it. We don't have to like the way it's being said. It doesn't have to look pretty. But because it's honest, it's kind of pushing these buttons and making us explore new ideas and concepts and emotions that we otherwise wouldn't have. But if art was just about being pretty or pleasant, then it wouldn't hit those sort of triggers in ourselves. And I think that way it would be a pretty kind of flat experience. And that's why it's so important to kind of just make art sometimes that you don't have a plan. You kind of let the art make itself, and you're just there when it happens without expecting it to be great or beautiful or any of those things. I think that's one of the ways that these sort of like more important, I mean like socially important topics and way of seeing the world can kind of creep into your artwork, and then it can fulfill that purpose that it was meant to do always. By the way, since new people joined the live stream just a few minutes ago, I just want to reiterate that these process that I am putting into the membership downloads, they haven't been tested in Procreate yet. And for example, the Trail in the Sky one, like it works perfectly in Photoshop. It's one of my favorite process, but it's completely broken in Procreate, and I will fix it. I just now noticed how broken it is. I will also upload these Procreate versions of everyone that I test. I have now only tested 2 of these, but they are Photoshop process, so I don't want to tweak the way that they work in Photoshop because I have been using them for years already, so I'm 100% sure that I like the way that they work there. I want to keep them separate. I need to block in some main shapes to understand what I'm doing. That's why I need to concentrate for a little bit. I'm gonna check the chat every now and then, but I might miss what people are writing for a few minutes. That's just the price you have to pay for painting online, I guess. I mean, it would be nice if somebody else was doing the painting and I could just be here hosting the event, but somebody has to art. Or somebody can art, I think that's how I should say it. And luckily that can be me. That can be you as well. Hopefully that's you. Sir, I love your art. Thanks for sharing. Please don't call me sir. That makes me feel so old. Hans is saying, is there a specific color or color combination that is just very pleasing to you? When I find the right combination of this sort of like afternoon sunsetty cloud color with a sky that is kind of too green to be real, that's one of the things that I love. And to demonstrate that, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm finding those colors for you so that you can see. So I'm turning these clouds to almost green, but I am turning the sky even more green. And then the clouds will suddenly start looking normal again. That's one of those combinations that I love. The cool thing is that like when you find colors that you like, you can just reuse them endlessly, because even if you use the same palette, and that's why I love using palettes these days, even if you use the same palette, it can have a completely different look depending on what you're doing. Like for example, my Maybe Tomorrow painting has the same color palette as the polar bear that is on Nintendo Switch. Same palette, completely different paintings, even completely different moods with the same colors. I think there are just so many things in art that kind of reinforce this idea that you don't have to kind of invent every wheel from scratch. You can just use stuff that you have made, or even like visual concepts, and develop them further with your paintings. And I think that can be very rewarding in many ways. Mostly because you can kind of build on your earlier visual exploration, and then you can come into conclusions that you wouldn't otherwise be able to make if you hadn't done that like research beforehand to see how certain colors play with each other. Kind of like this brush. When you're teaching concept art, I think that's one of those things that you see the students struggle with, and that can be very frustrating as a teacher when somebody has just kind of already figured out something that works, and then they kind of slide back into their sort of completely ground zero solutions for no additional benefit to the idea themselves. The idea itself. because every idea requires kind of a lot of time and respect for that idea to be the best version that it can be. And at some point, you just kind of have to get out of the way and let the idea develop on its own. And stop kind of trying to art direct your creativity. Like, that's not your job. As an artist, your job is just to do the painting. The idea is not yours. And it doesn't help to think that it's yours. Just letting go of that sort of like certain level of ownership can really also help you enjoy the art for what it is. And you don't have to think about that it's just you and your ego talking through it. Kalanu Arte is saying, Mikko, can you occasionally mention your thoughts on why you are making big changes or in adding some things, trying to paint loosely along? Would like to hear your thoughts on why you chose things. A lot of the changes that I'm making currently is just I'm trying to find those shapes that I can get excited about. That's all. I think I wanted to kind of vaguely make some kind of a village. And that is forming right here, but a village by itself, that's not enough, that's not interesting. What kind of a village would be an interesting village? What kind of a way of life are they having that could be communicated through the visual language of this piece? And how can that be kind of refined into a visual impact that I can communicate with my skills to you who are watching this? By the way, I asked on Twitter, like, what are your favorite games of this year? Or what games you have been playing the most this year? Like, either one. I think if you play a game for a really long time, I think hopefully that should be a good indication that it's a great game. But I understand that some games are really short as well. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. If they are the kind of games that could like maybe appeal to me as well. Bryce is saying a good idea here. I would love to see you do a live stream with a student or former student you have taught. Have the student paint while you host. Yes, yes. I don't know how ethical that would be, but like I would definitely do that. That would be so much fun. I hope they could paint without like feeling pressured in any way. Also, if they have gone through my art course, they know the checklist already so well that like they would know the feedback, I would say, without me having to say it. Hopefully. I mean, they usually do. The way my art classes are structured is that I always intend for them to already know what I'm going to say before I say it. At the end of the whole course. Because I want them to not need me. That's my main goal. I think I got rid of like this line of trees. I don't know if I'm going to completely get rid of it. Maybe I can just use it as like small texture like this. Actually, I can do some sort of cheap copying. I love cheap copies. The cheaper, the better. That's good. That's pretty cheap. So right now I'm trying to create some movement with the sky, because I can use these lines to pull the viewer into the illustration. Kind of have to know where your leading lines are. If you can't do this sort of like arrows on your painting when it's done, then I think the composition is probably not working, because you as an artist, you have to know what makes the composition that you're making work or not, or how it's working or not working. Otherwise, you're just trying to get lucky with a painting, and I try not to rely on luck. I think that's my part in this process. Inspiration can come up with its own ideas. It's just my job to like make that idea as clear technically as I can. I don't like how symmetrical everything is, so I'm going to try to move things around a little bit. I think that's already like an improvement. Yes. Much better. some cheap copies. They were pretty cheap already, but now they're just like extra bit cheaper, and that's why they're better. Jana P is saying, can you show us what brush you are using right now? Right now I am using the Quill M brush. This one is here just because it's a duplication, and you can get this in the downloads folder. Because you're a member, I can see in the paw, and that is there. It's a Photoshop brush. I will also update it with this sort of like edited version, because this version has bleed in it, so the paint kind of smears, which makes it easier to blend colors. I think for painting this city, or town, I am going to add a drawing guide and then put it out. And then I can use this middle button to lock my brush strokes horizontally when I want to do something horizontal like this. I highly recommend like using this sort of like very graphic shapes when you're blocking in your clouds or sky, because all of that sort of like realism and like soft edges where you want them to have those soft edges, that's all super easy to do. But if you do your clouds very soft at first, like it can be a huge burden on your composition, because it can be very difficult to know where the composition breaks down. Because of that softness, it doesn't create those sort of contrasting areas where you can see how the composition is broken in places where it needs to be fixed. I think I could increase the canvas size again. Sorry, Vivi is having a moment. Sorry. I think my boyfriend went out somewhere and Vivi's behind the door, so maybe she thought that she's alone or something. Or she just needs to bark, I don't know. Right now, I'm thinking that there's this sort of like castle-like shape in the background, and I haven't quite figured out for myself what that is, but it also needs to be interesting, so that's why I am now working on that part. And whenever you feel like you kind of like lose the interest or lose that sort of initial enthusiasm that you had for the painting, then I think it's good to evaluate if there are like something that you can do, like some crazy changes. And sometimes that can be a very small thing that you move around, and then the painting can suddenly start making sense again. But usually those sort of moments when you kind of lose interest, that happens when you don't understand like what elements can make the painting look better and what elements are currently making it look more confusing or that are competing with the composition. I'm missing some text. Up. Esme is saying, I'm already starting to see a story in your painting. I'm stuck in a story I'm writing right now. What you're saying right now is exactly what I need to continue. Thank you. Yeah, I think for writing, getting bored with your story is kind of the same thing as like getting bored with your painting. It's your painting, it's your story. You can do whatever you want with it. So make something that gets you excited about it. Sydney is saying 200 hours between the first and second games. What game? Oh my god. What was Sydney's previous comment? Did I miss it? Probably. Spouse really loved Stray. Yes. I don't have PlayStation 5 though, so I can't know what that is like. Juan Manuel Garcia is saying, Mikko, important question. How is your day going? Well, I was at the gym earlier. I was in this pure strength class. It was really hardcore. I'm completely exhausted. But I'm happy that I went. I always get this sort of like almost childlike resistance to going to gym in the middle of the day. But I'm always happy when I'm able to go anyway. Sometimes it's really difficult though, obviously. But I don't wanna say that I'm like bad at going to the gym, but right now I understand that like one of my big problems is that like I'm very good at like committing to something when I have like a clear plan. I'm very much one of these sort of like all or nothing type of personality types. So for example, this year, like my whole weight loss, it was very, very strict. And that's the only way that I was able to make it work, by being like very hardcore about it. And I think if I wanted to have more results at the gym, I would need to have a better plan. So I don't want to do something big and just have like a New Year's promise that I'm gonna go to the gym more. But I'm kind of more interested in figuring out what I want to achieve and then having a plan for it. I think that's the only thing that makes sense for me personally. Obviously, I don't have the know-how to advise anybody on this, but I think I know myself well enough that just thinking that I should go to the gym more, that's not in any way helpful for me. It needs to be more specific. Also, my problem is that I love running. which is really hard to kind of fit in with trying to build strength. I think now I'm just gonna slap a gradient of light over everything, just to see if there's a mood that I can dig out of this thing that matches with the sky. Actually, I'm going to do a specific layer mask for it. So for that, I'm going to duplicate all of these layers. I could just add them to selections as well, but I'm just being lazy. This is a lazy way to do the same thing. So I'm duplicating all of these hill and village materials, and then I'm just using this thing to create a selection. That's the whole use for this layer. Why can't I move that separately? Okay, this is just going to be a very cheap way to add some lights. So I'm going to select this again, add it as a mask for this thing, get rid of that stuff, merge these two, mask again, invert, and then I'm going to paint some light. If I can get to the mood, then I have more information on what I need to be doing. This is a very inefficient way when it comes to layers, but I noticed that I still have like 40 layers or so left, so I can be a bit wasteful. The only thing that I can't be wasteful with is time, and merging these by making duplications. That is a huge waste of time in a live stream, and I'm sorry if I need to put you all through that, but this is just a handy way to do this. Am I sorry? I don't know. This year I've been trying not to apologize for things that I really have no control over. like for example, I've been doing a lot of commissions, and I don't want to say sorry for not doing more videos, or sorry for not doing more membership content or downloads, because like honestly, like there was no choice. So am I really sorry? No. I do think that I'm doing the best that I can with the resources that I have. And I think the reason why I started paying more attention to my own apologies is that I don't want to give the impression that like I'm just like being a bad person by not being more productive, because I don't want to give people any expectations that like this is just a bad phase that I'm going through, that there's going to be some sort of like crazy hyper productive version of me later when I get my crap together, because that's not going to happen. Like this is it. Like this is the maximum effort that I can do. And I think if I pretend otherwise, I'm setting myself mentally on this track where I just burn out, because I have built the kind of expectations that I will never be able to live up to. So that's why I think it's important to not apologize constantly for the things that I cannot control. Bryce Sawyer is saying, in school we are pushed to use Photoshop because it's the industry standard. Which industry? But I really prefer Procreate. The selection tool in Procreate allows you to lift your brush and continue. Yes. When it comes to the field of concept art or illustration, I would say that there is no industry standard, that like no company that you're working with, they don't care what tools you are using. Really, they don't. I don't think a client has, even once in all my years of working, even once asked what tool I'm using to create the illustration for them. Like, nobody cares. Literally, nobody cares. Pavel Draws is saying, anything this year you feel really proud of, Mikko? I guess this is going to sound really dumb, but I think both concept art, like both of the art courses that I've been working on, the one I did in school, like I was really happy with the way that the students improved. That made me like really happy, and like I'm really proud of that. Of course, like it's the students' like own responsibility that they got those results, and I was just there for that moment of their lives. But when I left school for the last time, I felt like this was a useful way to spend my time here on Earth. And another is that like I'm really proud of this art course that I've been making for Gumroad, and it's almost finished, and like I'm really proud of myself for finishing it, because it's impossible to tell just how much work that has been, and how scary it is to make like any of these sort of paid products as your own business owner, and trying to make a life for yourself by making those sort of products. So like so many things about that feel so scary. It feels so scary to even start working on something like that. But as I've been working on the last episodes of that art course, I kind of had to go back and watch the previous episodes to remind myself that like, where are we? What have I taught up to this point, so that we can wrap this up without me leaving out any information, and going through that experience of like watching those videos back, because you just want to give up at some point. You just want to say that like, this is not good enough. Like, I'm terrified of like making any products and asking people money for them. But when I saw those, like, that's when I felt like I put a lot of effort into it. And I think just like being able to finish despite all of those like fears and like the imposter syndrome that once again comes with any of those things, I'm going to feel so happy when I publish it finally. And the way that I usually do this, like, if you have been following this channel, you already know that I have this tradition. But whenever I, for example, finish a brush set, like when it comes to making like all the marketing assets and like just checking all the bugs in all of the different tools, that can feel really overwhelming, and at some point you feel like there's just too much work, like I don't want to do this anymore. But then I have this trick that I tell myself that like when this product is published, that I'm going to celebrate by buying Vivi some sort of a new toy. And when I feel like giving up, and when I have that sort of like temper tantrum, when I just want to throw the whole project away and start doodling something random, because that's what I really want to do at some point, then I can tell myself this sort of different angle of why I'm doing this. That like, if I don't finish this, then I won't be able to buy Vivi a new toy. And that somehow, it's so much easier to do something like that for somebody else than it is for yourself. So Vivi definitely is a big help in many ways. She still has the rat that I bought her after publishing, I think it was watercolors for bears. And I remember going to the store many times and like holding that rat toy in my hand and thinking that like, I need to do this. I need to get my act together and finish this brush set that I've been working on for so long. Otherwise, the whole time will have been wasted, and I won't be able to get Vivi this carcass of a dead rat. I don't know. You have to do whatever works for you. I know that this probably won't be a trick that solves everyone's problems, but the thing that I have learned through not just painting, but by being a runner, is that you constantly have to be on the lookout for new ways to motivate yourself and to listen to what kind of triggers you have in yourself, basically. And this is kind of constant learning process that you can do throughout your life. And whenever you need it, you can pull out all of those tools Like for example, when I'm running up a hill, I tell myself out loud in my, I don't know, out loud, sometimes out loud, I say it when I'm running that I like hills. I'm good at running up hills. I'm fast at this. I'm faster than many other people. And my good side as a runner is that I'm liking this action, the action of running uphill. And that helps. Like, that's one of the things that helps me. When all else fails and I'm kind of very tired on a long run, I can start having these sort of mini goals that I'm just gonna run to the end of this street or past that tree. I'm not gonna think about the 20 kilometers that I have ahead of me. I'm gonna think about a branch that I see coming up, and I'm gonna run there. And just breaking everything down in these sort of like smaller increments. You've probably seen that I've posted a lot of images on my Instagram reels from my home. I have this big chalkboard wall where I write some of these elements. Like for example, there are plans for marketing materials that I write there, and then when I'm done with those assets, I get to go on that wall and just cross over that word or item on the list, and that's one way that feels really motivating and fun for me. It's so satisfying when you do something and you're able to kind of like see visually the progress. I know that like any digital tool could be able to do the same thing, but there's just something special about like concretely seeing those items slowly being filled in. And I sometimes do that for like very time-consuming illustrations as well. When I know the areas, like when I have a proper plan. In longer illustrations, it's not usually this sort of like go by feel and just see what comes up. But when I already have a plan for the composition, I know what makes the composition work, then it's usually easier to write down those sort of checklist items or what I still need to be doing. Because they're probably not going to affect the painting in a way where I need to reevaluate my original plan. How do you approach tone value in this piece? Well, I can always do my power button trick so I can see the values on my screen. So I just like quickly press the power button 3 times, and then I see the illustration in black and white. And then I press the power button again, and then the colors return. But I usually need to do that only when I have kind of lost my way. Not every illustration needs to be about value contrast. That's only one way to build a composition or an image. For example, if your whole painting is based on simultaneous contrast, then the values really don't do that much in those cases. I think it's better to look at color and the value of color as a combined thing, not as two things that are somehow separate from each other. When you're painting with oils or acrylics or gouache, you don't have that option of adding the colors later on. So I think it's better to learn color with the value included in that learning process. How long does it usually take you to finish a painting? Well, it can be 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or 2 weeks. I think that's the usual duration for my paintings, meaning that there's no usual duration. A painting will take as long as it takes. The only moments when I feel like I need to kind of get it done is because I can't work on a video forever. At some point the video has to be done. So that just means that I will have more painting sessions, but I still won't leave a painting unfinished. Because then what's the point of even making a video if you can't enjoy a painting? So I guess you have to know your priorities. So I don't know if I read that already, but Pavel Rose is saying, I always like to start my resolutions in November. I feel like that is very smart. Sorry, Pavel continues. I feel more committed and eased into the accomplishing the goals I set for myself. By the time January starts, my mind and body are more accustomed. I think that's very smart. What is this music? Right now, this is Toe Part 2. Bryce Sawyer is saying, I hear that a lot from artists that they are hesitant to ask for money for their work or to ask for realistic compensation for their works. Artwork or instructional courses the same. Yeah, I think when you're selling commissions and when you start working for yourself, you kind of pretty quickly have to face the realities of just like how much things cost for you to survive in life. I think that's just one of those things that has been a real learning process for me. I understand that some people think that art is really expensive, and that's kind of true. Art is expensive because it takes a lot of time to make. And it takes a lot of time to get those skills that you even get those orders to begin with. And that's a huge investment that not everybody can afford. But at the same time, I don't think it's something that people need to worry about that much, because when you start doing like real freelance, when you really need to be kind of responsible for yourself, you kind of really quickly notice that like you cannot charge 500 euros for an illustration, because then you won't have anything to eat soon after. So I think those sort of like realities of how much money you need to pay your bills and survive, and then you have to kind of like, in a best case scenario, consider what kind of life you want to live that is worth the effort of all that. What I'm trying to say is that like those sort of like practicalities, some of those will just kind of happen on their own, and then you don't need to kind of stress about it every day, and I don't recommend that anybody does. If you feel like it's difficult to ask your normal fee for commissions. I highly recommend making a template for yourself where you explain your price structure and your process, what is included in that price. And when you have this sort of a text document written already in your notes on your phone or wherever, where you can just easily go and copy paste it as a response to commission requests, then you don't have to kind of like every time enter those sort of like negotiations with like all of your fears and go through the same anxieties every time. You can just like very flatly copy and paste the same text. And also remember that that is also work that costs money. I mean, that copy and pasting thing, that thing when you're replying to potential clients, not actual clients, that can be so much work that you have to kind of factor it into the price of your actual commissions, because everybody who is like buying a commission, they are also paying for everybody who used your time and didn't buy a commission. So even if you can like easily figure out like this is how many paintings I'm able to do in a month, then you also have to factor in how many emails you will be responding to and how many video negotiations you are going to have and all of these things, because you won't be getting any money out of those, and that is going to take up your time. And basically it's just figuring out how much time you have and how much money you can make in that time, and can you make that scenario in a way that sustains you and keeps you alive. It's a lot more simple when you think about it that way. Also, one more thing that usually helps me is like when you try to make those sort of business decisions, if at all you can, I recommend giving yourself the kind of advice that you would give to an artist friend. And that way, I think it's much easier to kind of make decisions that are more reasonable and not that much like feeling based. Because you need to have a reason for every decision that you make. So if you think about giving the advice to yourself like you would be talking to a friend, then you would have to kind of give reasons for your opinions in that scenario. But when you are giving advice just to yourself, it's kind of more difficult to add in the reasons why you want to choose one thing over the other. And Bryce is saying, I'm jealous that you get to run. I used to love running, but my knee won't tolerate it anymore. Yeah, I understand. And whenever I have done like any sort of like long distance running, when I'm like training for an event, I always get running injuries before I get to go on those events. But I get to do the running anyway, so I shouldn't complain. I'm grateful that I'm able to do the training. But running injuries suck, and they're very, very likely. I think 70% of people who train for marathons, they will have some sort of a running injury before they get to the starting line. And of course, a lot of people won't get to the starting line because of the injury, depending on how serious those are. Jana P saying, I know that very much from writing my books. I promise myself to get a special present if I will finish my first version. I support that. I think that's a great idea. What frequency is this sound in the background? I have no idea. Esme is asking, do you like Christmas, Mikko? Yes, yes I do. And how do you celebrate Christmas in Finland? Presents. People visit their families. Eat lots of food, Christmassy foods. Also, I like the Christmas decorations as well. I think it's just the whole like winter time. I love it when it's snowing, and it's very snowy here right now. And it's kind of like surprisingly snowy. Usually the snowy month starts like in February or something, but like this winter has been very cold and snowy here thus far. And I love it. There's just something about Christmas that I feel like it's a very Finnish holiday. I don't know. There's something about having this major event in the darkest part of the winter. Like that's what Christmas is really about. It's about light, light in darkness. I'm not super aware of what the whole ritual is about, but I guess it's about the light returning. For me, Christmas is like 100% like a pagan holiday, in case that was not clear. On this hill there used to be a castle because it was an easy place to defend the people from a high place. But after that it has found a new life when these new people have moved in and they have harnessed the wind for energy because of the location, and they have used the old ruins to be kind of an energy source for the whole village. So that's the story of this piece. And I think it's interesting to see it come together. When I started this live stream, I didn't know this story, but now I do. I so wish that these houses were on separate layers, but I guess that's going to be a headache for me to deal with later on. Kalanu Arte is asking, can you comment on your thoughts about AI? How AI will impact the industry, and do you see any impact on your business jobs? Well, I'm a concept artist, so people don't come to me for illustrations, they come to me for ideas. So far it hasn't impacted me in any way. Of course, like everybody else, I'm worried about the same things about artwork being stolen. If you look at the bottom right corner of these AI generated images, you can see kind of scribbles of people's signatures in there, and that's a clear sign of like art being stolen or that kind of use, which is of course something that I'm not okay with. But at the same time, I think we've already heard this opinion so many times. I feel like every single art tuber and their mom has made already that same video saying these very things. I don't feel like I would add anything to the conversation if I just make AI art is stolen art, and I'm shocked, clutching my pearls. Not that that opinion is wrong in any way. It's just I don't feel inspired to make those sort of videos, especially when something is like trending. I'm terrible with trends. I'm sorry. I would be so much better at social media if I was able to hop on trends, but that's just not how my creativity works. I mean, sometimes I wish it was. But yeah, my creativity like really doesn't care about what is popular, sadly. I mean, if I wanted to have views, then that would be the video that I would make. But I feel absolutely no inclination of making it in any way, so don't hold your breath. Because what would I say? That same thing. That same thing that everybody has said already. Um, Art is not my first career, Bryce is saying. I am very aware of how expensive life is. I appreciate the content you put on YouTube for free. Yes. Despite having a membership, despite making these art courses, I will always be making free content. Like, that's how I am able to make the content for free, because I have these paid products. Somehow I need to make money, but if I could, I would just be making YouTube videos and all of the content for free. If it was an option for me, it's not currently. But that's also why I hope that everybody who is enjoying and watching my videos, that like you guys can appreciate the members on this channel, because like they make those videos possible. I know that you have probably seen a lot of like other channels as well, and most channels make way more like sponsorship deals than I do. I just don't feel like a lot of the sponsorship offers that I get are something that I feel comfortable doing. So the members are the people who make my videos like so widely, like sponsorship free. just like this track. That's why I don't want to talk over it. Sorry. I know it can be tempting to see all these like cloud painting process online. For example, I have my own free cloud painting brush on my Gumroad that's like 100% free, but rather than like pushing you everybody there to download it, I recommend that you try using the brush that you are using for your painting and just making the clouds with the same brush. Because even if you can't get to those sort of like super realistic fluffy clouds, maybe all paintings don't need to be that level of realism to begin with. Maybe the message of your painting can stay more consistent if you just use the tools that you are using for the rest of the illustration. You're kind of sticking to the same shape language that you are using to explain everything else. Like I said earlier, I like going a bit more green than is acceptable with my skies. I don't know why, I just like it. I think that's all the reason that I need. Saro is asking, hey Mikko, do you ever draw or paint traditionally lately, or do you focus solely on digital? I guess because I have this channel here on YouTube, I've been focusing, like, for that reason, on digital painting. Mostly because it's kind of easier to process, like, the video materials for. Yeah, there are just like a lot of technical issues, and also I haven't done traditional art in such a long time that if I start a new piece, I honestly don't know if it's even worth making a video about. I would love to do more traditional painting just for myself, but like I think putting myself under the pressure of like having to make a video out of it, I think that's a bit much. If I can somehow trick myself that like I will make a video if it makes sense to make a video, I think that might work. I don't know if it would, but it might. I think it could be a bit relaxing to do traditional painting videos again, because after a while it will get easier again, and I think it's important to keep experimenting with new things. Next year, one of the things that I really want to focus on is I want to make better videos. Like, I don't want to push down the quality of my videos in any way, but I want to keep making more paintings. I don't want the video production to get in the way of me making art. Since I need to do so many commissions to just to kind of like stay alive, like even that is taking away from the time that I get to paint for myself. So I just feel like I really need to find ways to be able to paint more. Whether that's just making more live streams or having different type of content. Maybe I could do some videos where I just don't edit anything. If I just do, for example, like, here's a painting process from start to finish at a sped up speed, and write some tips over it rather than writing a whole script and voiceover and editing every single piece into 3-second cuts. I don't know, like that could be a different way to enjoy the videos. I feel like the way that I make videos, that I still haven't found any like one formula that always works. I think for me, it's a complete mystery if some video idea is successful or not. That's completely, it feels very random to me still. So for that reason, I think I have a bit more license to keep experimenting, just because I haven't found like one thing that works, and then I just need to repeat the same thing over and over. But I think that gives me an opportunity to kind of keep figuring out new ways to make videos that could be fun to make and interesting and useful for you guys to watch, hopefully. I know these beams look super random, but like all of this stuff is like very easy to clean up later. And if I spend all of my time in these sort of live streams in cleanup, I think that would be very boring to watch for everybody. So I just like to focus on the design aspect of what I do. To make sure that the idea is there, something that is worth working on. I'm using an overlay layer to give some of those like saturated areas a little bit more punch. I'm going into curves because I don't want to crush my blacks, which is really important. If you crush your blacks, then you will have no editing room, and there's no way to fix that later. One of the most important aspects of just color management in general. Always have editing room. Wish iPads had brush rotation. Only having tilt is very dated. Only seen the Wacom Art Pen having brush rotation available. I had a Wacom Art Pen for a while, but I think that was very chunky and just, I don't know, not something that I ended up using. And I think Wacom tilt is like pretty much useless. I think all of the tablet tilts are kind of useless. And I think that's the way that these pencils are constructed. Like physically, even the slimmer ones, just because like the tip is separate from the pen itself, like then you have that like pencil tip travel when you're doing the tilt, and whenever it does that, you lose the control of that tip. So I don't know. I wish that Wacom had kind of continued their like development and research when it comes to that, and not just kind of like stopped improving their products once they found the success that they have now. Because I think it's very old-fashioned that those stylus pens, they haven't really evolved in any significant way during the whole time that I've been working as an artist. The tablet that I often use when I'm working in Photoshop is Intuos 3, because in some ways I think that's even better than the Cintiq that I have. And it's the same stuff. Like there's a huge decade gap between those two products, and still, for some purposes, the 10-year-old one is better than the expensive option. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. But of course, there's like personal preference that whatever you get used to. If you, for example, start drawing with ink pen, then rotation will of course be built into your muscle memory. So I wish that these Apple Pencils would have that, and it seems like an easy thing to add, so I wouldn't be surprised if it gets added at some point to, I don't know, Apple Pencil 3. But as a feature for me personally, it's not one of those things that I'm desperately missing. I guess a button would be nice on this stylus, because for me the double tapping feature feels really unnatural. I don't use it. Sydney is saying, when I finally get set up to stream, you can paint minis with me. That's fun. Sydney does a really cool, I don't know what they're called, like miniature paint. I don't know what is the name for that. Like they're miniatures, and then Sydney Lawton paints them, and they're so small that some parts are like thinner than like the thickness of a fingernail. So they're like really, really tiny. By the way, I can understand how that sort of a live stream could be a challenge to set up. That like, how can you show on camera something so tiny? So I guess like that requires a different kind of lens that I have for these. Some parts of those clouds are way too sharp, but I kind of like them, so I'm on the fence if I want to fix them or not, because it's kind of one of those happy little mistakes that seems way cooler than it should be. I think the mood is kind of slowly coming in there. And we're at 2 hours, so considering how much stuff I have in this piece, I think it's like pretty good progress in this live stream. Professional arting. This is the professional paint stroke dabs, like so. Don't you just hate it when you accidentally make a layer group when you're not supposed to? Happens way too often. Oops, did I just accidentally ruin those clouds? Maybe. Okay, I will check a few of the comments because I know that I've been like super immersed in this whole painting process. I'm sorry, it's just like kind of drawing me in. It's addictive, I think. That's a good sign. That's a sign that I like it in some way. Blow Muzzle is saying, I'm in a of your painting process, Mikko. Thank you. I'm trying to be more compulsive in my painting process like you and get more experimental results. Yeah, do whatever. Also, I'm honored you liked my Instagram post, the V ghosty of the ghost in the street. Yes, I like ghosts, and that was a really cute ghost. Up, dog on dog action. What a name. Is saying, are your commissions coming from private people or game companies and such companies usually? And are you allowed to record and show the process of the commissions? No, I'm not. Wouldn't that be an easy way to make more videos? Yes. I was working on a game project earlier this year where the client said that like I can record the painting process and maybe that can be used later in the marketing materials, but I guess they went into a different directions with the visuals, and that's it. And that's really common with video games. So no hard feelings on my part, but like that's also like one of the reasons why I don't want to make video games full time anymore. Because I always felt bad, like so many good paintings, they just vanish forever when the project changes, and then you have all of these paintings that you have done and they just go into the trash. And I understand that that is part of the process when like developing a visual style, but I always felt like we were doing something like so wrong. Like there's something, I don't know, even if there's money involved, I always felt like we are doing something like forbidden, like we are playing with something that is more sacred than us and what we are creating by throwing the art into the trash. Somebody can say that like I'm weird for thinking this way, but like I think that's fine. But that's for me such a strong feeling that I have sometimes when I work on a project, and if I notice that like a work of a lot of the artists that are working on the project just gets like completely discarded, like that to me is like a really big red flag that it's not a good environment for me, just because I know what it does to my own mental health. I mean, everybody wants to do art that has a purpose, right? I don't know. But even today, like there are some paintings that I make for clients, and I get nervous for the paintings. I don't get nervous for myself, because at this point I know that I have already done like technically everything that I can do to make the paintings look the best that they can look when I present them to the clients within whatever time frame that I'm working with. Anyway, so that's not the part I'm nervous about. When I have a painting that I really like. I get nervous for the painting because I want that painting to be seen by other people, because the idea came to me and I appreciate the idea, and I just want it to do well and have that message be shown to other people as well, because I have already gotten so much out of that experience by being able to paint it, and that makes me feel like there's something valuable there that I can't even articulate super well. So in those cases I get nervous that like I hope that other people will be able to see this as well, because the painting deserves it. The idea was like that good that it deserves to be seen. And in that way I really have like absolutely like no shame in advocating for my own art. I think that's part of the job of an artist, not just to make the art, but it's your job to market your art and make sure that other people get to enjoy your art as well, not just you. Because I don't think I'm that special that I deserve to have those experiences alone. In being in those places and meeting those characters and just being exposed to all of those ideas. Of course, I feel privileged that I get to do that, and it's like part of my job. But part of my job, I feel like, is to make sure that the art gets to the people that it was meant for. And I know for a fact that it wasn't meant for just me. And when you have done art for as long as I have, then you have enough of those experiences when people write to you and other people, not you, but other people have these like amazing transformative experiences through works that you created that you might feel completely like blah about. That like, okay, yeah, it was a painting, but it's not my best work, it's better to move forward. And then a few years later, somebody writes and tells you what huge impact that one painting that you felt was super silly had in their life. And when you have this experience repeat enough times, over time you understand that like your art has value beyond yourself and your career and like your online visibility or whatever. It's not meant for just you, and that's why it's important to show it, because it's not up to you to deny those sort of experiences with the creativity that goes through you. Like, I feel like it would be selfish to deny that from other people. I hope if people click this live stream based on the thumbnail and they see this painting, that they won't feel disappointed that this is where this live stream went. Personally, I feel like I'm pretty happy with this. Abilio Costa is saying, maybe try to ask subscribers for help with editing the videos. There may be some cheap plan that can benefit both sides. Editing is such a specific skill that I would definitely be open to that idea of somebody else like doing part of the editing for me, but it's taken me a really long time to learn how to edit, and I think anybody who knows how to edit videos, that they would probably be able to use that skill to make more money than to help me and my channel. So I've been looking into like maybe hiring a freelance editor to test how that process would even work. But those are pretty expensive. Honestly, it would be like over 60 euros for like 8 minutes of video. And that might not seem like that much for a huge channel. But I really don't have like that much extra cash to spend on just experimenting things. Really don't like that. Okay. These are like super fancy sheep. With a questionable amount of legs. Yes, they are essential for the story of this piece. So they will stay. K Arx is saying, I'm currently almost done with my drawing. This might sound stupid, but does anyone have any ideas on what word I could translate into Japanese and add in my background? Kind of hard to say without seeing your piece. What tips do you have on where to advertise for best impact exposure? Just make art and publish it. Publish everything that you make and finish every single painting that you start working on. Publish everything. I think that should be one of those things that you keep as this sort of like, this has to happen. Like there's no other way. Currently, I'm publishing everything on Instagram, Twitter, and then sometimes on TikTok. I'm very inconsistent with TikTok though. Don't think it's a good kind of natural fit for maybe like to talk about art and the process of creating art, but looking at paintings themselves, I don't think TikTok is a best platform for that. Let's add some chimneys. I could like do one quick overlay layer, wash to see what I can do about the colors. I appreciate the TikTok tips. I really have no idea what I'm gonna do there. I'm too old for TikTok. It's not like I'm gonna do a dance or anything. Also, Splint, this is a non-driving stream, like all of the streams are. But I think this is a good place to stop before we run into 3 hours or something crazy like that. Again, if I zoom out and look at it like this, I think the idea is there. I think the visual impact is there. And that's really all you need for a painting. All of the detail stuff and rendering, like that's easy stuff. Like basically like any beginner can do that right away. But I guess most people don't have the patience to spend 2.5 hours on finding the idea that is like worth working on and like putting in that detail. And then when you start doing the details and rendering, I think it's worth considering that like some elements are just better with this sort of like blocky, chunky style. Like the clouds, I really feel like those could go easily wrong if I start over-rendering them and working with too small brushes in that little town. So with those details, I need to be very careful. But I will be using the same brush for doing the details as well, like this Quill M. And the Quill M brush is in the downloads folder for all my members, and I will be putting more stuff for the rest of December. And I see you guys in the next video. Thank you for joining this live session. So I'm really glad that I was able to make some art today, because tomorrow I will have to get back to commissions and work on new projects, some exciting stuff coming up, including that art course that I'm working on. So I will have to record the final editing videos before I can publish that. So I hope that you look forward to that. And I hope that you have a beautiful, nice, peaceful December. Okay, I will stop waffling around. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!